Hi, welcome to the Profit Builder video series. I'm Vicki Suter, your host, and I'm the author of the book, The Profit Bleed, How Managing Margin Can Save Your Contracting Business. And these videos are all about helping you grow a more sustainably successful contracting business. And for over 25 years, I've been helping contractors increase their profits, generate more time in their day, and reclaim and refine the joy in what they do again. And that's what this video series is all about. And my goal is to help give you the thinking to be able to understand how to do that in your business. And then I actually give you tools and resources that help you implement what it is the video is talking about. So I hope you enjoy today's Profit Builder video. One of the key things that I have found, Devin, is, and I think you probably see this too, it's like, I always think to myself, when I can see it, I can do something about it. It's when I can't see it and I don't have I'm not looking forward, then I'm always kind of reacting to it. But if I can see it before it's here, then I can intervene in that future before it's history. So part of my whole orientation is always, how do I make sure that I've got feedback that lets me see where I'm headed? Because that's really the key to having more control in our businesses and in what we do.
So how do you see contractors being controlled by their business?
I would say by not knowing where they're headed. Again, it kind of comes back to that. Are you clear about where you're headed? And are you managing against that? Or are you just reacting to it? And there's a key distinction there too, because if you ask people if they have goals for their business, a lot of times contractors will say everybody has a revenue goal, or some idea of how much they want to make in money. But do you have a goal in terms of how much you want to make in gross profit margin? Do you have a goal in terms of how much money you want to have on the bottom line, what your net profit margin is? And for contractors...
Oh, the net profit's different than the gross profit?
I hope so.
Yeah, there's a podcast called The Contractor Fight that Tom Reber runs. And
Right.
he's really hardcore about those basic things. And that's
Yes.
important stuff, right?
It is. It's totally important. Yeah, understanding that distinction of that there's got to be money left on the bottom line,
Right.
But also goals for how much do I want to have in cash reserves? How much do I want to be making as an owner? All those things. And so setting goals, first of all, super important first step. The second way is to manage against them. So, if I'm here today and I say I want to be here, and do I have feedback systems in place whereby I'm looking at that every week, every month, and asking the question, where am I compared to where I said I would be, so that I can make course corrections, as opposed to I do a budget or I put down a number and then I hope that it's all going to turn out, and I never look at it until the year is done. Well, it goes back to that thing. If I'm never looking at it, I can't see where I'm headed. I don't have any feedback, and then I can't intervene in that future. But if I'm looking at it regularly, now I can start to intervene in that future before it's history. So I would say that one of the ways to get control is to make sure that you have goals and then manage against those goals consistently with a set of practices. And that includes on projects too, right? So it's like you set a budget for a project. You don't just set it and forget it. You actually manage those job hours, and you make sure that you manage the scope of that project so that it turns out the way the plan said they would. You make sure that you keep in front of it to have it turn out the way that you planned. All of the things that contractors naturally do to have projects turn out successfully is the same thing you want to do in your business.
Love it. Yeah, and working right to left instead of left to right, of saying what is the perfect scenario of that revenue and then working it backwards. I love that exercise and going through that to say it boils down to all the way to say core values would be a good thing that I would bring up, to say core values don't mean anything if you don't actually track those behaviors, because those behaviors are going to drive the results. And figuring out the yin and the yang, and then goes back to, like with me, figuring out a Microsoft Office 365 so you can get those behavior data sets that are trackable. then you can really have something and have a great coach like Vicky come in and help you be more proactive, right?
Ideally, yeah. That's
So
the idea.
what advice do you have on how they can best get more control of their business?
Um, one thing I would say is to start with having a consistent set of practices around how you do your business. So are there a consistent set of practices around how you estimate, and that includes, and here's an interesting thing about process, procedure, and goals. So when you have set a goal and you say, well, we're going to do X number of dollars in volume and we're going to do, let's say, a 35% gross profit margin, then you need to make sure that when you're bidding, you're checking your bids against that goal. Or if you're saying that you're going to do, 2 million or 5 million or 20 million in revenue, are you tracking how much you're bidding in closing to make sure that you're on track for that? Are your practices in your estimating really aligned with making sure that you're estimating to meet that goal? So what it means is first setting those goals, like we talked about a little bit ago, and then having the systems and the processes in place that will allow people to manage to those goals and those results. Another one would be even just job schedules. So contractors, we live and die by on time, it's all about, the entire thing is on time, on budget, as promised. So it all really comes down to that. Well, are there a set of practices and systems and procedures around controlling those things? And it doesn't have to be 50 things. It's really literally is a handful of things. And it's part of what I talk about in the book, is I see construction as very complicated in many ways, but there's a simplicity of understanding how to manage from the top down versus the particles and pieces up. And there's a simplicity in understanding what are the key drivers that let you keep your finger on the pulse of making a project successful or not. So what are those key things? And that's really, in the book, I really share about what are those specific things in every area, whether that's sales and estimating, or it's project management, or it's finance. I talk about each of those areas of your business and what are those places where you want to keep your finger on the pulse. And I literally give people tools to be able to track those things. It's not a theoretical conversation. I go, yeah, go check out that resource, because that resource will help you actually implement what I'm talking about.
Yeah. And I really had an aha moment there when you're saying, like, really understand your estimates going against your budget to make sure they all match. And it sounds so obvious, but I think a lot of people, if they look themselves in the mirrors, those things are not correlated.
Oftentimes not.
I've worked with a lot of great people that do these things. And that's where we talk about the silos in the art of construction. And we all have our own silos in our business that we're all figuring out how to break down back to getting control and having more fun, right? That's what it can be really not fun if you don't actually have any net profit at the end of the day, right?
It's agonizing, right? Because then you're just working really hard, hoping that it'll turn out. And that's a part of that thing about having more control, is being more intentional and just more purposeful. And if you can keep it to, there's just a handful of things to really pay attention to that are the drivers for you being able to produce the profit you want, and not be what I kind of call the tail on the dog. You become the head of the dog and you're driving it. You have way more control. And gosh, that's it just gives us more peace of mind. And it allows us to feel a greater sense of being able to be in the driver of our own destiny, right?
I love that. So as we've asked every guest, what's that one thing to grow their business? But in this theme, what is that one thing a contractor can do right now to begin getting more control over their business?
Oh, all right. Only one thing, huh? So what I would say,
give us a little bonus too. That's okay.
So here's what I would say is set clear goals for what's the criteria for success in your business, and then make sure that those goals get communicated and agreed upon with your team. So set goals for what constitutes winning the game, whether that's a gross profit margin goal, a revenue goal, a average number of collection days goal, right? Set key goals in your business for what's the criteria for success. And then everybody who has control over those key drivers, get agreement with them about maintaining and holding to those standards and those goals.
Well, I love it. I want the book. How does the Art of Construction Tribe get the book? What's what would you put out there to get the book?
The Art of Construction Tribe is a special offer to your listeners. They can get the book for free, Devin, at theprofitbleed.com/free. So it's theprofitbleed.com/free. All you have to do is pay $7.95 shipping and handling. And at the end, there's an opportunity to get all of the resources that are in that book in one bundle.
Wow. Well, what an honor. So we have these great, we dangled a carrot to say, contractors, let's all go get the book, and Art of Construction Tribe, let's learn from the book. And how do you best get a hold of Vicki outside of the book? You
can reach me on email, Vicki@suiterbusinessbuilders.com. That's VICKI at Suiter, SUITER, businessbuilders.com.
Awesome stuff. So thank you so much for telling your story. We'll make sure we put information on all this in the show notes. And thank you for all that you've given to the Art of Construction industry over these years. We definitely, all of these great contractors need great coaches like you out there that's helping us get out of our own way a lot of times, right? So thank you so much for coming in and telling us your story.
Thanks, Devin. I appreciate you having me on. I hope you found today's video helpful. If you're ready to take your next step in your leadership journey and to build a great contracting business, I encourage you to check out my book, The Profit Bleed. It's full of great tools and resources that will help you implement the processes and the systems and the structure that will allow you to build a more profitable business, allow you to work less hours, and help you reclaim the joy and fun in your business and in your life again. And for a limited time, you can get my book for free. All you have to do is pay $7.95 shipping and handling. And you simply need to go to theprofitbleed.com/free. Thanks again for joining me for today, and I look forward to seeing you next time on The Profit Builder.